Over the years, since 2012, living here in the Philippines, I have met in person and online various expats, and I'm sure you've seen them too. Either their videos online or they're getting interviewed by another expat vlogger, or maybe you see their posts on Facebook or Instagram. And these are the minority of guys who basically crash and burn in their experience in the Philippines. I'll go ahead and play clips directly from him as he gives you the background of just kind of the situation he's in, the challenges he's facing. We'll go into a little bit of commentary along the way. So let's go ahead and start with the first clip.
My name is James Dixon. I am 52 years old. I am an American citizen living in the Philippines at the moment. I am on Social Security disability. Because of my status, I am not allowed to work in the Philippines.
So here he introduces himself and states that he moved to the Philippines and his source of income is disability, which that'll play an important role here as we move along. And there are many expats who do live in the Philippines off of their disability benefits, in addition also to their Social Security benefits as well. Now, the other thing he mentions is that he's not able to work in the Philippines. This is true for any foreign national that is living in the Philippines on a tourist visa. You cannot take on a job with a Philippines employer under a tourist visa. You have to have a work visa that sponsors you to do this. He does not have this, so working in the Philippines is not an option for him.
There are legal issues within America that will not allow me to work. But it says if you have a legal problem of any sort, or of certain types anyway, that is less than 7 to 10 years old from the date of conviction, you cannot get hired in America.
So now here is where things immediately start to get kind of fuzzy. He states that he was convicted of something, and the severity of it is that now that he has served his time, somehow this prevents him from getting any employment in the United States. Now, I know that, and I'm not saying he's a convicted felon, but I do know that if you are a convicted felon, you do have to answer honestly on a job application, have you ever committed a felony? And that can hamper and slow down your opportunities. But when he says that he is not allowed to find employment, I kind of question that.
I just received a letter from my resident in America, which is a homeless shelter, by the way. They sent me a copy of my letter from Social Security. Basically, from my understanding, I've been cut off. So that means I will not be receiving a check this month, which means I will not be receiving a check at all, which means that, yes, I can reapply, but not while I'm in the Philippines. No, I don't have any money. But having to apply for disability, not having friends, family, being able to get any work, I'm not going to be able to survive in America because I don't have anywhere to go.
As you might have already anticipated in the beginning, because disability was his only source of income, and he doesn't have a bunch of savings set aside to kind of float him in case such an emergency were to come up, he now finds himself in a bit of a pickle. In order to restore his disability benefits, he needs to get online, which trying to handle this with disability in the United States while living in the Philippines, and all he has available is a smartphone, is turning into quite a challenge. In addition to that, he does not have anywhere to go if he were to get to the United States.
I have had people in the past offer to assist me or help me. Employment, money, what have you. They never do it. There is always some excuse, some reason. If you're going to offer, fine, offer. Wonderful. If you're not, don't. No big deal. But don't play with the desperate. Because right now, I know we're supposed to stay away from certain subjects on social media. But you understand the point I am at. I cannot survive. I don't have anyone to rely on.
I can understand that if he went on Google looking around for money available from anybody, I can imagine he probably did run into some scammers. I do kind of find it a little hard to believe that he's not able to set up some kind of way, either through Remitly, Zoom, PayPal, Gcash, so many ways to digitally receive money. And meanwhile, an average Filipina can find ways to pick up money from Western Union or anywhere else. So I really don't know what his point was in saying this, but he does end that little bit there to say that he does not have any kind of network. So far, he has now no income, he has no savings, he has no way of people sending him money, and in addition to that, has no network of family that he can contact.
Welcome. This is James Dixon. I am the minister, preacher, priest, teacher guide to the Temple of Free Worship. If you choose to subscribe, you will have the benefit of a private chat area to carry on conversations with other followers of the Temple of Free Worship. Hopefully, we have helped make an impact on the world to become a better place. There will be special bonuses given to subscribers.
In the past, I have worked very closely with two different large church organizations. And what I can tell you is this: there are two types, if you were to put them into two categories, there are two types of churches. There are registered ecclesiastical organizations which are registered with the government in which they operate. They are exempt from taxes, and they are part usually of a bigger affiliation. For instance, let's just say the Foursquare Church or the Baptist Church or the Episcopalian Church or the non-denominational church. They are registered legally as a church organization. That's one type of church entity. The other is a non-registered, self-proclaiming church, which does not exist on any paperwork anywhere. It basically exists because somebody says, I'm the pastor of XYZ church. Now, common sense would tell me if this man is any one of the titles that he claims, which I believe was everything from a teacher, a preacher, a pastor, a priest of a church, that he would have a congregation he could turn to in his hour of need. But it would appear that either there is no congregation or it is a few people that are donating by subscribing online for his video contact. That seems to be where this church exists.
My judge tells me I'm not allowed to go back to Mexico. I would if I could, but I don't know that I can. I don't know that my passport isn't flagged in Mexico. I don't know that the United States will allow me to. I don't know at all. But even if I did, I still don't have any income. So how would I get there? I'm in the Philippines.
So let's put this into perspective. He is a self-proclaiming preacher, teacher, priest of a church, which honestly I've never heard of, but then he's saying that his ambiguous, vague legal problems prevent him from knowing whether or not he could even travel to Mexico or whether he is banned from doing so. I don't know about you, but I kind of see an incongruency here.
I've heard American expats and tourists and retirees and all that here in the Philippines talk about, oh, well, you were homeless, you had no money, you should have never came to the Philippines, you got to have $2,000 or $3,000 a month. No, you don't. You only need a few $100s a month to live in the Philippines. No, you're not going to live like an American, but you are going to survive.
So now we're getting into budgets and what it costs to live in the Philippines. Now, there are a minority few expat vloggers out there who will, I believe, just for the sake of flexing, will tell people, oh, you can't get by in the Philippines for less than $3,000 a month. I just don't buy that, and neither do most Philippine vloggers. Most of them put a decent budget for a single man to be right about $1,500 to about $1,700 US to live very comfortably in the Philippines. However, what he is telling you here, not something that he heard from someone else, but what he is telling us in this video clip is that you really don't need $1,500. You only need a few hundred to survive. Now, there's a big difference between surviving and thriving, or even just being comfortable. Surviving means you're just not dead yet. Surviving, if you're living in the jungle, eating bananas and mangoes and sleeping on the beach, yes, you could get by in the Philippines for a few $100s. And yes, you could call it surviving. But to anybody listening, take a look at him and ask yourself, do you really want to be surviving in the Philippines on a few $100s? Personally, I would not recommend it.
Now, I am begging for any type of help. If you can help, great. If you can't, fine. Whatever the consequences of life, it is my choice. I have dealt with poverty all my life. America and the rest of the world has made it to where it is almost impossible to survive without some type of support system. I don't have that support system. So if you want to help me, fine, help me. If you don't, fine. Don't pity me because I don't need your pity.
So what he's saying here is that in America, he has only experienced poverty all his life because the United States is set up in such a way that if you don't have a support system, you can't make it. I have to disagree with that. There are plenty of people that start out on welfare, get a job, go to junior college, and they get off of welfare. They get a better job. They work harder. They get promoted. How do I know this? My own mother did this. My mother went to junior college to get her nursing aid certificate. And before that, she had to go to night school just to complete her GED. And she was on welfare for about 2 years. And when she started working, she got off of welfare. In fact, the Press Enterprise newspaper did an article about her success in getting off of welfare to make something of herself. And she did this as a mother, divorced, with 2 kids to raise. So when he tells me that you can't make it in America unless you have what he calls a support system, I have a difficult time believing that. I believe that the vague, ambiguous legal problems that he mentioned were actually of a much bigger impact to his inability to get gainful employment, not that America had the entire deck stacked against him.
But you have to understand, I run a ministry and no one wants to support my ministry. So I can't even rely on that to help me. I have tried everything I can think of I have done everything I can think of. I'm not a woman. It's not easy for me to just go out there and make money. I wasn't born that way.
There's an old saying, I know you've heard it before, the proof is in the pudding. He mentions that this church idea he got isn't producing any kind of money. Now, it would seem reasonable to believe that if a higher power who calls you to start this church would see to it that it succeeded. But here he is saying, well, I just can't count on this church idea to bring me any income. And then he segues into the comment that the option of earning money as a woman the easy way is not an option that's available to him. Well, I don't know, call me crazy, but I would think that a preacher, teacher, pastor would not even consider the oldest profession.
And those of you that want to give fake offers or real offers but want to have excuses or tell me I have to pay before I can receive, may karma bite you. All right, bye.
So he finishes off by basically saying, well, these people who say they're going to give, they're all a bunch of scammers, and I hope karma bites you. So I can only assume that's part of the theology of his self-proclaimed church. So what do we have now that we just sort of take all this in and evaluate his situation? But my summation of what I see here is that financially, he is probably in the worst possible position he could be in. He has no money. He's in a foreign land. There are no benefits for him, no safety net. He has no savings to fall back on. For some reason, he has no connection with his family or any friends, nobody that would help him out. I'm sure there's a story behind that. In addition to all of this, as if that wasn't enough, he has some sort of legal issues, which he kind of tries to play off like it's really not that big a deal. But somehow it's kept him from holding gainful employment. Somehow it keeps him from traveling to Mexico if he even had the money. So I don't think it was some minor little legal issue. And to then turn to presenting himself as some sort of church authority when really the donations part of all that really seemed to be the most important part to him. I look at it all and I simply don't have any answers for this guy. I don't. I can't think of anything he can do. With no family, no savings, no income. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe you guys know something that could be done to help this guy. But I honestly am at a loss. And even if I could think of something, part of me says, is he really just a guy down on his luck? Or is his present situation the result, the final end result of a lifetime of bad decisions? Because the way he presents it, the world just never gave him a chance. Honestly, I'm just not buying it.